Hello to the readers of Our Shared Shelf. My name is Kate Moore and I'm the author of The Radium Girls. I am so thrilled and excited that you have selected the women's story as a May-June pick for your book club. I want to say a huge thank you, not just to everyone who voted for the women's story to be chosen, but also to each and every one of you who is now reading their story. My mission in writing this book was to ensure that these real women were not forgotten, and every one of you who is now reading their book or listening to it on an audio version is now helping their memories to burn just that little bit brighter, because you are discovering their story and their journey and what they went through, what they sacrificed, and for that I will always be grateful. Thank you for reading, thank you for choosing them, thank you for elevating them and for restoring them to your own memory so that they will live on through you too. There are so many reasons why we should honour these women, so many reasons why they deserve to be remembered. Their contributions to workers' rights, to science, to safety standards, simply for being incredible role models of what you can achieve when you fight for what you believe in and you stand up for your rights. And there are so many elements to their story that I really hope are going to provoke some incredible, thought-provoking discussions among your book group. Issues such as gender, as class, corporate culpability, science, the progress of technology and the risks associated with it. Everything in this story can prompt such issues that we haven't perhaps considered for a long time, and I really hope that the women's story inspires you to think about those issues and inspires you too to think about the warnings that they hold for us in the modern day, and also the lessons that these women can teach us. Because above all, this is the women's story. This is their book. And I hope that beyond those thought-provoking discussions and beyond those reasons why we should celebrate them for what they've contributed to humanity and history, that what we really remember when we take away from the book is the girls themselves. It's Catherine, it's Grace, it's Irene, it's all these women that you will read about in this book. They are the most important thing. Their lives, their experiences, their sacrifice, their strength, their courage. I hope what you take away from this book is them. Because for me, when I met these women, which I did through directing a play about them, the women were who were really important to me. Their story resonated with me and they took hold of my head and my heart, and I hope they will do the same for you. I was inspired by them endlessly, and that inspiration took me from where I live in London in the UK all the way across the Atlantic to America to research their story, because I wanted to literally follow in their footsteps. I wanted to walk the streets that they had walked. I wanted to visit their homes and their graves and their churches, to visit the site of the dial painting studios where, in the roaring 20s and the First World War, these women patriotically painted for their country, and they thought they were having fun, doing good work. You know, on the cusp of this era of female empowerment, they were at the cutting edge. And yet the experiences that they subsequently had have actually done more for female empowerment than they could even have imagined when they were simply picking up their first paycheck. These women are extraordinarily courageous. They are extraordinarily strong. And I hope that you too will be inspired by them as I was. And I hope too that these women almost come back to life for you as you read this book, because it truly is their story. As I conducted my research, I was looking for their voices, their letters, their diaries, their court testimonies. And to read this book, I hope, is to hear from them, because their voices are stitched into the narrative, and I quote from them throughout. This truly is their story, and I hope that you can hear them through the years, through the pages of this book. So I just want to finish this video by introducing you to one of the girls, one of these girls who is so central to this story. And I hope that as you meet the women, you will walk in step with them. You will go on this journey with them, and you will learn with them and from them as you do. So I'm going to read just an edited extract from chapter 1. And it's introducing you to a young woman called Catherine Sharp. I hope you enjoy meeting these women. Thank you for reading their story. Catherine Sharp had a jaunty spring in her step as she walked the brief 4 blocks to work. It was February 1st, 1917, but the cold didn't bother her one bit. She had always loved the winter snows of her hometown. The frosty weather wasn't the reason for her high spirits on that particular icy morning, though. Today, she was starting a brand new job at the watch dial factory of the Radium Luminous Materials Corporation, based on 3rd Street in Newark, New Jersey. It was one of her close pals who had told her about the vacancy. Catherine was a lively, sociable girl with many friends, as she herself later recalled. A friend of mine told me about the watch studio, where watch dial numerals and hands were painted with a luminous substance that made them visible in the dark. The work, she explained, was interesting and of far higher type than a usual factory job. It sounded so glamorous, even in that brief description. After all, it wasn't even a factory, but a studio. For Catherine, a girl who had a very imaginative temperament, it sounded like a place where anything could happen. She was an attractive girl of just 14. Her 15th birthday was in 5 weeks' time. Standing just under 5'4", she was a very pretty little blonde with twinkling blue eyes, fashionably bobbed hair and delicate features. All her life, Popular Science later wrote, Catherine Sharp had cherished the desire to pursue a literary career. She was certainly go-getting. She later wrote that after her friend had given her word of the opportunities at the watch studio. I went to the man in charge and asked for a job. And that was how she found herself, outside the factory on 3rd Street, knocking on the door and gaining admittance to the place where so many young women wanted to work. She felt almost a little starstruck as she was ushered through the studio and saw the dial painters turning diligently to their tasks. The girls sat in rows, dressed in their ordinary clothes and painting dials at top speed, their hands almost a blur to Catherine's uninitiated eyes. Each had a flat wooden tray of dials beside her, but it wasn't the dials that caught Catherine's eye. It was the material they were using. It was the radium. Radium. Oh, it was a wonder element. Everyone knew that. Catherine had read all about it in magazines and newspapers, which were forever extolling its virtues and advertising new radium products for sale. But they were all far too expensive for a girl of Catherine's humble origins. She had never seen it up close before. It was the most valuable substance on earth, selling for $120,000 for a single gram. That's $2.2 million in today's values. To her delight, it was even more beautiful than she had imagined. Even as she watched, little puffs of it seemed to hover in the air before settling on the shoulders or hair of a dial painter at work. To her astonishment, it made the girls themselves gleam. They were using slim camel hair brushes with narrow wooden handles. Yet, as fine as the brushes were, the bristles had a tendency to spread which hampered the girls' work. They had to make the brushes even finer, and there was only one way they knew of to do that. We put the brushes in our mouths, Catherine said, quite simply. But of course, it wasn't simple at all. And that's why the Radium Girls are so important to remember. That's why I'm so grateful to you for reading about them, to read about their sacrifice, to read about their strength and their courage and their tenacity. And I hope you take from their story all the inspiration that I have, and I hope they inspire you every day of your life to fight for what you believe in, and to stand up for your rights, and to believe in yourself no matter what anyone says about you, to believe in yourself and to know that you can, no matter how powerless you feel, that you can make a difference, because that's what the Radium Girls did. Thank you for reading.